Can't tell if it's okay. All right, here we go. So we have Jason Frey here from Full Sail University. He is going to be speaking on all the creative offerings that Full Sail has that can go in conjunction with your business degree or as a standalone. We have a poll to take. The poll is next to the chat icon. Remember, the poll has a triangle, square, and circle. Click on the triangle, square, and circle icon. Click on the poll. And according to what you guys vote on, that is what you're going to be doing today. So it says, which one do you prefer? 3D modeling, storytelling, digital media, or stop motion? And so far we have 7 votes in. Also, before we get started, folks, make sure that you are in the right room for the meeting. Nevaeh, cross over to the next meeting room. Before we get started, I also want to say, for those of you who are seniors, oh, you know what? It's not going to show. So I'm going to post it again after we get some more students in. But DECA portal is open. Today is the last day for scholarships. If you are a senior and you want to apply for scholarships, today is the last day, and DECA has compiled quite a few. It is a very easy application. It's kind of like the Common App where you do one application for everything. So I'm going to repost this link. You will need your DECA membership number. So if you don't have it, email your business teacher, or let us know, or put it in the chat, let us know. So I just put it in the chat, and without further ado, I'm going to let Savion introduce himself, and then Jason Frey is going to take over.
Hi, I'm Savion. I'm the president of our DECA chapter, Withrow's DECA chapter. Nice to meet you.
And nice to meet you.
Yes.
Yeah, good to meet you. It's DECA is something we also we have like a chapter we participate in DECA, and I'm going to show that here in a minute. But that's cool that we've got the president of your chapter here with us. Hey, that's awesome. So yeah, I'll go ahead and dive on in, and after I kind of give the introduction, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the university that I represent, give you some information on that, and then we are going to, based on the results of the poll, go ahead and dive on into our specific workshop today, which is going to be interactive. You're actually going to get to do stuff, so it won't just be me talking the whole time. You'll be able to kind of participate along. So I'm going to go ahead and open up to share my screen so that you all can see what I see. It's going to take a moment. And then here we are. All right, so kind of quick introduction. For anybody in here who's not really familiar with Full Sail University, that's okay. It's part of what I do is tell people about us. We are a college just outside of Orlando. We're technically in a town called Winter Park. We focus on teaching things involved with entertainment, media, arts, and technology. So this means that we offer degrees in things like filmmaking, video game design, music production, IT, computer animation, entertainment business, all the behind-the-scenes stuff that help to create the things that people enjoy anyway. And we've been doing this for a little while. We were established back in 1979, so we have experience in teaching people things in a way that the industries need them taught. And because of this, we have people working in a variety of different fields on a ton of different projects. We had graduates from our school work on Toy Story 4, the movie Joker, Green Book. We have grads who work with Post Malone, Beyonce, BTS, Cardi B. We even have grads in the video game industry. We've had grads work on pretty much all the Call of Duty games that have been released. Last year, we had grads work on Ghost of Tsushima, even a couple of games from NetherRealm, like the Mortal Kombat games and the Injustice games. We have graduates working all over the place on projects people can recognize as well as some more kind of like niche projects that maybe not everybody will know, but even things that critics can recognize. So like at the most recent Academy Awards, we had 146 of our graduates who were credited on Oscar-nominated projects. The most recent Grammys, we had 50 of our grads credited on those nominated projects. The Game Awards just last month, 271 of our graduates were credited on those Game Award nominated games. And then, of course, a bunch of stuff that never gets nominated for anything. Now, I bring these up because these are awards that people recognize. You know, you say, oh, the Oscars, and people go, oh yeah, that's the award for movies, right? This is not really all encompassing for the work our graduates are doing, or even the work that our students are doing. We have a lot of our students working while they're still going through school on a variety of different projects, be it projects on campus, or as something you're probably very familiar with based on what you do, DECA. So now these are some, not the most recent statistics, but from just a couple of years ago. I already had this slide put together, so I was able to drop it in. But in 2018, we sent a bunch of our students out to the state DECA championships, and they won events in event planning, entrepreneurship, travel and tourism, as well as marketing communications. So they are learning a variety of different things so that they're able to compete on several levels with DECA from our own collegiate chapter. And we have a few different degrees that are focused specifically on business. All of our degree programs, they learn a little bit. I have my master's degree in creative writing from Full Sail, and I had to take a class about the business of writing, I believe was the title of the class. So we all have to take a little bit of a business, get a little bit of that business education, but we have a few degrees that specifically focus on this. Our two big ones are entertainment business and music business. These are going to be full business degrees. Despite the fact that it says entertainment, despite the fact that it says music, these students are learning the basics of what you would have in a traditional business degree, but they are focused on certain elements. So like entertainment business is going to do a lot of work with just generally business law, entrepreneurship, business accounting, where music business would kind of shift over. It would be focusing on things like artist management. It would be talking about concert management and touring, as well as copyright law. These students are learning a lot about copyright law. I believe it was also back in 2018. Billboard magazine listed our music business bachelor's degree as one of the top 3 pre-law degrees in the United States for copyright law. There's a lot of info put into that part of things because of how important it is. And I'll give you a very good example of what happens when you don't have somebody on your team who's very good with copyright law. So I imagine that some of you may recognize these two. We have Pharrell Williams, we have Robin Thicke. They collaborated together on a song called Blurred Lines that a couple of years ago, I say a couple of years ago, it's probably 6 or 7 years ago now, was this big radio hit. It was playing all the time. You couldn't get away from it. And what they couldn't get away from was a lawsuit by the family of Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye's family said Blurred Lines sounded too much like one of Marvin Gaye's songs, Gotta Give It Up. And this went to court. Like, this was a whole thing. There was a judge and a jury and everything associated with this. And at the end of it all, Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke ended up having to pay $7.4 million to the family of Marvin Gaye over copyright infringement and Blurred Lines. This is why you want someone on your team who is very good at that, because this could have been avoided if they had done all of the necessary paperwork or potentially asked for permission. Or there are a few different avenues that they could have gone down, from what I understand. I'm not a copyright lawyer, to avoid this happening. But, you know, either they didn't put the effort in, or they thought that they had somebody on their team who was better at it than they were. They ended up having to pay all of this money over for copyright infringement. Ultimately, when we talk about these industries that we really focus on teaching for, these entertainment industries, these industries a lot of people really are familiar with some of the products, there isn't always a lot of conversation on the business side of the whole process. And if that's the case, that means that the people doing that side are probably doing their job right. You usually don't hear too much about them if they are doing well, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it is sometimes in these industries. It's when they're not doing the job right that you find out, because you owe, nearly $7.5 million for copyright infringement. So this is the kind of stuff we want to make sure that our students know how to help these people avoid. So that's just kind of a little bit on the entertainment business side of what we do. So now I want to double back and see, do we have results from our poll? Let me check here. Still checking. All right, I can't see them, I don't think.
You can't see the poll?
I can see the poll, I can't see the results.
Oh, okay. So looks like last call to vote, but it looks like 3D modeling knocked everything else out the box.
Awesome. That has been a favorite today, which is cool. I love the 3D modeling workshop. Let me unplug my mouse. I bought a wireless mouse just for this workshop because it works a little better. You can use a trackpad, but I just wanted to go a little bit easier on it. So we'll jump into 3D modeling, which is, again, one of my favorite workshops that we have here. So 3D modeling is really going to be a workshop that focuses on a specific type of art. We're going to be looking at like a computer animation kind of art, because this is specifically, it's not physical 3D modeling. I haven't secretly mailed out a bunch of clay to everybody. We're going to be using a digital program to create a digital 3D model. Now, I talk about 3D modeling, and a lot of people immediately jump to very specific things like Pixar movies, things like video game characters. And absolutely, 3D modeling is used for these different forms of media. But we're seeing these skills being used in a variety of different industries now. There are architecture companies that are hiring computer animators to create 3D models of the buildings that they're designing, because not every client might be great at reading blueprints. This is going to be a lot easier for them to see what's being built and to also advise on any changes that they need. Also, things like car companies. It's going to be a lot cheaper for them to create a digital version of the car rather than having to buy all of the materials. And yeah, they can make small models of the car to see it too, but with a 3D model like this, you can completely customize the inside. You can see what the inside would look like from the driver's seat or from the back seat. And now you know what you have to adjust, whether it looks terrible or if you're like, perfect, now we've adjusted enough that we can now build it. So these skills have a lot of uses, just like business does within these industries. But I say all of that to say we're going to actually be doing stuff that's similar to what you probably think of anyway. So with what we are doing today, we are going to be using a very basic concept in art, and that is the concept that you can break down characters and objects and anything you see in the world into some basic shapes. And that is an easy way to reflect it in art. So we have like our character here, Mr. Incredible from the movie The Incredibles. You can easily break Mr. Incredible down into a few different basic shapes. He's got an oval kind of head. He's got an ovalish arms. His upper body is kind of like an inverted triangle because he's very broad on the shoulders, and after he loses some weight, he's kind of thinner in the middle. And moving it onto the 3D plane, it's the same kind of thing. Some of the shapes might be a little different, but same basic shapes. Why do this? Why would we want to break down a character who's already put together? Well, this is actually something you can do in the real world, in the real industries. And how it helps is you can now have this character that's already been created, that people already recognize, transition this character into a different form of media that maybe has a different art style, and we can still recognize the character. It's not because of the clothes. It's not because of this little eye on his chest, because these other characters are wearing the same kind of clothes and have the same little eye on their chest. It's because we recognize the shape. The overall shape is going to give us an indication of who this is, even though the art style is going to be different. What we are going to do today is we are going to be recreating some objects from the game Super Smash Brothers. Say objects, we're probably going to get to do one. So I have 6 characters that we are going to choose from. I have Mario, Link, Donkey Kong, Yoshi, Kirby, and Pokemon Trainer. I know his name is not Ash in the game, but Pokemon Trainer doesn't fit very well in here. So I want you all in the chat, I'm going to minimize this so I can see it. I want you to tell me which one we are going to work on today. Now, we are not recreating the character themselves. Heads up, Kirby is not going to be the easiest one. We are recreating an object the character would use. So go ahead, throw it in the chat. Give me an idea about which one you would like to recreate an object for. All right, I've already got 1 for Ash, 2 for Ash. Link's coming up. It's already got 1. It's a tie between the Pokemon Trainer and Link. And then Kirby comes out of nowhere. But Ash has a 3rd one. Oh, Link is 4 now. This is great. All right, Link was the first to reach 5. So we're going to go with Link. I didn't tell you that was the criteria, but that's okay. It was the criteria anyway. I'm going to tell you because if not enough people vote, it's weird. So for Link, what we are going to recreate, it's not the Master Sorter. We're going to recreate his little bomb that he throws. So if you're breaking this down to some simple shapes, this is a poor one. This is kind of like the very basic version of it. But you've got kind of like a cylinder or a square that you're using across the top here, depending how you're viewing it. We're going to have a circle, of course, for the big part. We're going to use a cylinder for the little fuse here. And you can honestly, in the software we're using today, you can make this look very detailed. This doesn't just have to be just like a straight line, or you could make this just a straight line. It's up to you. So what we're going to use today to recreate this is this free online software that's already in there, tinkercad.com. It was just dropped in, so right next to 3D modeling, you'll see it on the left, tinkercad.com. Go ahead, go to that site, and you need to create an account. The account is free. You don't have to pay anything for it. I don't even know if there's like a premium version of the site, because I've never needed it. But go to that site and create your account. After you create your account, and it is very important that you do this after you create your account, go ahead and click on this link. And that is going to bring us to our very specific workspace that we are using today. It doesn't actually change the way the software works at all. It's just a cooler looking workspace. But after you create your account, the page, it's not going to be like this. I forgot to click on the actual thing. That's on me. The page is going to look like this. You're going to see the name at the top left is going to be Dimitri_1313. That's one of my former coworkers who actually put this together for us. Great job, Dimitri. He spent a lot of time on this. He's not here. He actually went out to California. And you'll see his 3D design here. It'll say Full Sail, Super Smash. Brr. When you see that, go ahead and click on it. And you are going to click the blue button that says Copy and Tinker. Do not download this. If you download it, it's a whole different set of instructions that I am not going to be going over today because we're limited on time. So make sure you don't download it. Just copy and tinker it so that we can just use it today. I'm going to open mine up. And as we go through here, I'm going to keep checking back on the chat to see what questions come up. So if you write something in chat, I won't see it immediately, but it won't be too long until I check back and I do see it. So as a heads up, it is going to take a moment to load up when you first open it because it has a lot of objects in here. Dimitri wanted to make this a really cool workspace. But once you are in, you are going to see it is a whole Smash Brothers themed work area with sections for the different characters. All right, so before we get to creating, a couple controls to look around. Right click and drag. If you're on a computer with like a touchpad, whatever you would normally use to right click, whether that's like on mine, it would be 2 fingers that I would right click and drag, whatever it is on your side. If based on what you're using, that's a little difficult, there's a different way that you can look around. At the top left-hand side of the screen, there's this little box. It'll say front. You can just click that like normal and drag it, or you can click on a specific perspective and it'll switch to that for you. Just below that square, we have a few different options here. The little house here brings us to a home view. That'll focus in on the workspace. No matter where you might end up in this world, that little house button brings you right back to the workspace. Just below that button, you have a square that's just made of like 4 right angles, but it's got these spaces in between. What this does is if you click on a certain object and you either click that button or the F key on your keyboard, that'll zoom in, it'll focus in on that object. It's a nice little master sword. Beneath that are the plus and minus buttons to zoom in and zoom out, or if you have a scroll wheel or however you scroll up and down on a web page or anything with your computer, that's how you can zoom in and out. And then the final button on the left, the one at the very bottom here, when you hover over it, it says switch to flat view. I'm going to call this the don't touch that button, because don't touch it. It's not going to be helpful. It'll switch you to a flat view, which working in the three-dimensional plane, not super helpful. We want to keep it in the perspective view while we're working today. All right, so today we are creating that little link bomb. So I'm going to start off, the big part of it is the big sphere. So on the right, you have your basic shapes, and one of them is a sphere. I'm just going to click it and drag it in. Now I got a sphere. Looks like a little dodgeball, kind of just rolling around here. Now, when you have this in here, you are going to see a lot of different options and controls pop up around the object for us to adjust. These little squares around the bottom will adjust two-dimensionally the object. It won't make it any shorter by just clicking and dragging, but it will adjust the other dimensions. So the black square will only adjust it one way. The white square will adjust it two ways. And then Control Z does work in here, by the way. If you want to adjust everything proportionally, click on any of the white squares, and while you drag, hold the Shift key. And that'll adjust it all proportionate to to the dimensions. Which is what you probably want to do today for creating the base of our object, because it is a sphere. You can also change the color of it. If you click on the object, this little shape box pops up on the right-hand side on the top. And then you see the color and it says solid, and you can adjust that around if you want to. Which I believe the actual one we're creating today is a little bit of a darker blue, so I've made it a little bit of a darker blue. But that creates the base of our object today. Just by tossing in that sphere, we've done that. You chose one of the simpler ones. That's cool. Now we want to add in the next part, which, open it up here, you'll see the next part is going to be this kind of circle where the little fuse comes out of. So for that, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find tube. Tube. You click and drag that on out here, and it's going to be very large to begin with. You're going to want to probably decrease the size on this one. And this is where you're probably going to notice that you can drag around objects on the two-dimensional plane, but not vertically. You can't lift it up off the ground. To lift an object off the ground, you can't just click the object and drag it. You have to find this little arrow that hovers above the object. That's what you click and drag to actually lift something up. Now, on my end, I don't think it looks great like how the example is here, where it's just right on the top. I kind of like it like this. It makes it look a little bit more lifelike to have it kind of at an angle. So the way to do that is when you have an object selected, you have these buttons. They almost look like U-turn signals, like it's telling you that you can go either way. If you click that and drag it, that's how you can tilt an object. If you stay in the lower circle, it moves more at a time. If you go to the upper circle, it'll move in smaller increments. So then you can tilt it. And always, since we're working in a three-dimensional plane, check it from multiple angles. Don't assume you got it right looking at it from one side, because you probably don't. And then I'm going to change the color on this. I'm going to make it like a gray. Yeah, there we go. And for this object, the shape box has a lot of different options. So what I'm going to add is I'm going to increase the wall thickness a little bit. Maybe decrease the radius, increase that wall thickness. This makes it so it's not like this gigantic opening where the fuse can come out of. It's going to be a little bit smaller. Oh, I got that like exact. Keep coming back to look for questions. And then the last piece of this is just going to be the fuse. So again, you can do a lot of work to edit to make the fuse look better, but I'm going to do a pretty simple one. I'm going to just drop in a cylinder, going to shrink it down, make it a little taller, and then drag it on over. Now with this, my fuse is not lining up perfectly. It keeps snapping to either side. It's because currently, as it is just standard within the software, whenever you do like a new build, it's set to snap within the software at 1 millimeter at a time. And that's going to be at the bottom right-hand side. It says snap grid 1 millimeter. I'm not going to turn this off because it actually can cause a little bit more problem when trying to create, but I'm going to move it to 0.1 millimeter. And that just gives me a little bit more control over where it goes. I can make it a little taller. I can tilt it to a similar kind of angle. Maybe make it just a little bit wider so it fills in more of the space. Now you've got a fuse. Also, when you adjust the dimensions of it, when it's at an angle, it adjusts it oddly. Like it's not going to be a perfect circle anymore because it is still adjusting it as if it's on that two-dimensional flat plane, but now the object is curved, so it's dragging it different ways. But ultimately, that can make things look a little bit cooler too. Like it's a quick cut fuse for this device rather than being super manufactured. Yeah, those three things, that's all you need to create this object within the software. I'm glad you all didn't choose like Donkey Kong because his barrel is ridiculous. The last thing, though, I do want to show you how to do, because this is incredibly important if you actually do decide to use this on your own and maybe take it a little bit further, is making this a single object. Because right now, if I try to move this around, it only moves one thing around at a time. So in order to make this all one object, what you do is you group these objects together. So you hold Shift and click everything, which we've only got 3 in here. And now if you wanted to use the hotkeys, it would be Control G, like gamma. Or at the top here, you have this button that'll open up, and when you hover over it, it says Group. That groups it all together. Now it will make it all one color. Easy fix though. We have the object selected. We'll go to the shapes tool right here. Sorry, hiccups. We'll click on this little green color. And then there's a little rainbow down here. It says multicolor. That'll bring everything back to what it was before you grouped it all together. And now you can drag it around. And you can increase the size of it. It'll all adjust together. So you can make it just gigantic, like way too big. You'd have to make such a big link to make this work. This is the kind of thing that's chasing Indiana Jones out of a cave. But those are your basics. If you wanted to create anything that you actually like 3D print out of the software is designed with that in mind. There's a button at the top that says Export, and then you can 3D print from here. Cool. So I've got just a couple minutes left, I know, in class. So last couple of things I wanted to touch on just to kind of wrap up here today. This is like what I do for a living. This is my job. I talk to students and I show off software. I've got the coolest job, I know. But that does mean I do get some frequently asked questions. So I've created kind of a section for that. First of all, a lot of people ask about scholarships. If you are looking to pursue a degree with us, we do accept outside scholarships. Definitely go look for outside scholarships. Just one thing to always keep in mind is if it says it has a state-based restriction, it would have to be eligible in the state of Florida, where we're located. But we also do have several of our own Full Sail specific scholarships. These are from our school for students looking to attend our school. One of the big ones that we offer every year, it's called the Creative Mind Scholarship for high school seniors. This is a scholarship of up to $25,000. Students just have to have one of these three things, either this GPA, this SAT score, or this ACT score. They have to write a 500-word essay on how their creative mind led them to Full Sail. And then for this year's seniors, they got to get that all submitted in by March 8th. One really cool thing with a lot of our scholarships is they are not super competitive. This is not a scholarship that's only going out to one student. This is, in years past, the scholarship has gone out to hundreds of students that start with us every year. So it's not like your essay has to be the absolute best 500-word essay on this topic, but you do have to make sure it stays on topic. You do have to make sure it meets the minimum word count. You know, we're looking for the effort. If for whatever reason your scores end up being a little bit below this, we do also have a backup version of the scholarship. It's a little bit easier to obtain, but also the award amount's a little bit less. So of the two, if you were trying for one, this is the one to go with, the Creative Mind Scholarship. I am a big advocate of trying to visit schools. Ultimately, I don't think you should make your decision on a school unless you've actually seen the campus, because environment does have a lot to do with, you know, how enthusiastic you are about class, and therefore, for a lot of people, how well you do in class. Now, of course, in this world we're living in currently, that's a little bit more difficult than it used to be. But we are still doing virtual tours of our campus, and our tours are always free. We never charge anybody anything to tour our campus. The most in-depth version of this tour that we do is one we do every other Sunday. It's called the Behind the Scenes Tour. So the next one is on the 24th of this month. This is not only going to just be a tour of our campus, so we show you a bunch of the campus, we tell you fun facts, we're like, oh, hey, in this recording studio, we recorded Ariana Grande, that kind of stuff. But also, there's going to be a whole section of this tour that is all degree program specific. So you let us know what degree program you're most interested in. We're going to put you in a group where we spend more time on those parts of campus, and you're actually going to get a chance to talk with some of those teachers. Like, it's more of like a day in the life of a student kind of idea. But if anyone is looking for any information about our school, whether it's scholarships or tours or degree programs or what our grads are up to or the school itself, anything like that, this is the best way to request that info. Either scan that QR code or go to that URL. It's not committing or anything. It's basically the same thing as going to our website and saying you're requesting info. The difference is this lets the people who send the info out know that you went through a workshop, so they don't have to tell you we're in Florida. They don't have to tell you the types of industries that we're training people to work with. You already know that because I've told you. We've been through a workshop together. So they can immediately skip past all that surface level stuff and take a deeper dive. Start answering your more in-depth questions because they know you've got the basics already down. So this is the way to save some time instead of getting those emails back and forth about the stuff you already know about. But otherwise, I always do like to see, especially since I got about 2 minutes left, what questions you all have. What do you want to know that I can share with you? All right, all very good questions.
I think somebody is on mute. Was somebody asking a question that is on mute? If you are, take yourself off mute to ask a question. Remember, my class gets Roarbucks for questions.
Yes, ask questions.
How hard was it to go into the entertainment industry for you?
So with my degree, because like I mentioned, I have my master's degree, I'm doing freelance work currently, which I enjoy because I do this full time. And then I'm doing freelance work on the side. So like currently, I'm in talks with somebody to help them ghostwrite their book. And I'm also acting as an editor for a website, freelance because I have my degree in creative writing. So a lot of that kind of stuff. It did take a little bit. These are competitive industries. There's a lot of people who want to get in there, but once I was really able to figure out how to best show off that I know what I'm doing, that I have my degree, how to show like my work to people, I started getting more offers. So having it absolutely helps out. It's the best, figuring out really the best way to get that information across, get across that you know what you're doing and show that your degree helped to support you get there. And I started getting more offers. So now like I'm getting multiple offers at a time for freelance opportunities. And I just use this freelance site called Upwork to help me kind of connect with possible clients.
Could you share the storytelling app that for creative writing that goes with your major?
Yeah, so the fun one that we use, it's actually the one that we use for the storytelling workshop. It's called Twine. So it's the software to tell like choose your own adventure stories. So you can find it at like twinery.org, and you can either download it or just use the browser version. But this is the software itself. So you can name it anything that you want. And you can basically just create through these different links and passages, choose your own adventure stories that people can then play through. You can send to people. You can include pictures. And I even have an example of one here. So this is a story made entirely from that software Twine, where somebody added some code in to where it's basically a story about the importance of building a morning routine every day. But this is all put together. Basically, it's all done through writing with just a little bit of coding. So it's a really cool software. And we actually use that as part of my degree program, is we use this software to design video games through writing.
That's really cool.
I know, I love it. All right, I believe that is it for this class, if I've got my time right. Don't know why all my other windows opened up.
Right. So if everyone could thank Jason Frey as you leave, that would be greatly appreciated. Enjoy the rest of the day, folks. 6th bell and 7th bell coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Mr. Jason.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to share.